Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to Outskirts Overland. Today I've got Benji in here with me, as you can see. Hi, Benji.
Hello, whoop whoop.
So today, me and Benji are going to do a little collaborating, just kind of catching up, so you guys can get a little bit of a Benji Charlie time today, a little of the warm and fuzzies. But before we get kicking, I got to go through my housekeeping stuff. Got to let you guys know. Go check out Toyota Trucks of Arkansas on Facebook if you're a Midwest Toyota fan, and also if you are interested in Onyx Off Road, go ahead on over to Onyx Off Road, and you can get 20% off if you use the code Global Overland 236. So Onyx Off Road has offline maps. Just it's got all the trails already mapped. You don't have to download any files. It's all already there. So it's really convenient and usable for you there. So go on over there, use code Global Overland 236, and you'll get 20% off. All right. Housekeeping is done. So guys, today I got Benji on. For you that don't know, Benji is Newfound Overland. He also has a podcast. He previously had a very large Facebook group and podcast associated with it, Budget Overland. He started his new thing here, a lot like myself, around the same time. So I've got Benji here. Benji, go ahead, and for those of you that don't know who you are, don't know what you're doing, go ahead and introduce yourself. Talk about Newfound a little bit, and we'll go from there.
Right on, man. I'm glad this worked out. I'm glad to be on the show and we could collab back and forth because we got some different styles, but I think ultimately we both have the same kind of thinking towards certain things. But anyway, Newfound Overland, as most of y'all know, overlanding's kind of a word that's been thrown around loosely. So I had a hard time with Budget Overland, always constantly trying to define it because everyone's budget's different, and it got to the point to where that was the main focus and not the actual adventure part. So a lot of people would post their rigs or would not post their rigs in fear of being ostracized and all that stuff. So anyway, I was on this hunt and there were some other things associated with starting new. But anyway, choosing the name Newfound, I just wanted that's for those who go out and do it and they don't need a name to define it. So it covers everybody. So there you go.
Right. Not defining it through, any specifics of a name that kind of puts it in its own just corner.
Yeah, and I mean if you go to events, which I'm sure most of your listeners do, you can look out in the parking lot and there's 50 rigs out there that are not the same. There's 100 rigs that are not the same, and everything's built different because they're built for those people who are driving them. They're not built for us, because everybody's stuff's different. So
Yeah, and that's like a whole nother topic too, is like even amidst all this gear, you'll see some universal pieces of gear like awnings or lifts but like everybody's, compilation of things is different. I mean, everybody's stuff's different.
yeah, it's really fun to see that too. Because someone in United by Overland, that was the Budget Overland Facebook group, and I wanted nothing to do with the Facebook group, so I just changed the name and threw it in good hands, and those guys are running it pretty well. And so someone posted there the other day, what kind of like grill should he get? And he's like, I'm torn between a Blackstone and a Scottle. So both of those are relatively in it, $200 to $300. All right. Ish. There's deals. So right. I have the Jetboil Genesis Base Camp, which is in the same bracket, and it's significantly more compact and practical, I think, if you travel often. And I guess that wasn't a good suggestion for his loadout or whatever his situation, which I sit back and am like, well, that's cool because he's got a different perspective or a different need for a grill than I do. So just the differences in how everybody does their thing. There's no right answer. To me, that's the right answer. But to him, he was just like, man, thank you, but no.
Yeah, and he wanted to go with a Scottle or a
Blackstone. The Blackstones are huge.
Yeah, I know. Tyson has my Blackstone. I had a Blackstone. I actually have a Jetboil Base Camp just like yours for sale right now. I don't want it anymore.
Hey, we'll talk off air because my buddy might be needing one.
It's here. Yep. He can buy it from me.
What do you cook on?
So I got a fire maple stainless steel single burner.
Yeah.
Yeah. Somebody just goes, he just doesn't cook. I do cook.
Oh man,
I do cook.
I'm too old
Just don't cook.
for bologna sandwiches every night
I
or peanut butter trail sandwiches.
But my biggest, so I'm not a big foodie, so how well the temperature control is or anything doesn't matter to me. What I care most about is how quick I can cook and it cools off to put it away so I can
Mm,
continue on. So I
yep.
care a lot about like how fast it dissipates the heat when I'm done with it.
That's what's surprising about Jetboil, because I was always kind of anti them because they were just so expensive. But they know what they're doing. I mean, they've R&D'd the crap out of this stuff. They've talked to people like hikers and stuff. People like
Yep.
are on the move, on the go. So like their coil system or whatever, for heating up it's quicker, and for cooling down it's significantly quicker. So those are very good points.
Yeah. I just don't need it's actually the base camp's just too big for me. I have a single Cedar Summit 8-inch pan and that Fire Maple single burner stove, and it runs on the same fuel as the little Jetboil. So I'm not also carrying propane now too.
Yeah.
I'm just
Sweet.
carrying the isobutane stuff. But yeah, that's a big one. Yeah. Boondock Haverlock just said the Blackstone griddle burner fits great in our drawer. Let me tell you something though. You've got a Tacoma, my man. That GVW is going to start getting you, my man. You got drawers and a Blackstone, and
I don't think overlanders look at GVWs. I think
I
they
do.
just I know it, but to a point, you look at a vehicle that's 5,500 pounds fully. If it's OEM 5,500 pounds, boom, that's your max. Well, most people that do this are probably over the GVWR by like 2,000 pounds,
You think
easily.
so?
Yes,
Have you
because
weighed yours?
yes, 5,500 pounds with no water. That was a full tank of gas and no passengers. And that's fridge, recovery, my little drawer system that has everything under the sun, my rooftop tent, spare tire, trasheroo, full armor. So she's heavy.
I think I think full of gas, myself, water, and my spare, I was at 5,700.
But you still have a deck system though, don't you? Or did you get rid of that?
No,
Okay.
I have it. And I have a 75-liter fridge. So I have a big
That's not
fridge.
bad. That's light to me.
No, but I pay a lot of attention. I mean,
Sure.
yeah,
Yeah, you got to watch that stuff.
you
It
have to
adds
pay
up.
attention to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, my friend Chris is on here. That's Line Break, and he had a Tacoma with and he used to do tubs in the back. He had a
Mm.
rack, and I he may comment, but when we'd wheel, he was even like, "Why is your Tacoma not having problems with this and mine is?" And I was like, "It's heavier. It's way heavier."
Mm-hmm.
And it's a big. I mean, that's a huge deal. I take mine to those cat scales all the time after I do like upgrades and stuff
Yeah.
because
I
mean,
think
you
you
got to.
should. I think at
Yeah,
least a couple times a year you should go and check. Summer and fall loadouts are going to be different than winter and spring. So they're
absolutely.
all different considerations, and you don't want to put yourself at risk, and you don't want to be tearing crap up on the trail either. If you're too heavy and hitting stuff, obstacles too hard because you have to, but you really shouldn't. But
Yeah, but I mean, that's just how it goes. I mean, I just broke a shock last year, a front strut, and I mean, and you broke half your truck. So
Mine, I took a downgrade. I went from 488 gears real quick back down to 430s.
yeah,
Unintentionally, but
how you
that's where
liking
we're at.
that?
I hate it. I absolutely hate it.
That sucks.
But I've been fighting a nasty vibration forever, which if people have listened to the show over even on Budget Overland, I'd complain about it. But I feel like I'm finally chasing it down. And I realized the shop I've been taking my tires to do a balance probably aren't doing it right.
You think it's your tires?
I think it's a negative 12 offset wheel. So whenever they throw it on the machine, I feel like they're balancing it as if it was bore centric, which it's supposed to be. But with the offset, I think it's throwing out the balance once it's mounted to my vehicle. So once I put it on the hub, if I have them balance it as a lug centric wheel, I'm betting it will drive 10,000 times more better. So I'm going to experiment with that hopefully this week because I've got a trip coming up and I got to do some other minor details to get it. So the other thing, if it's not that, I need to get different CV axles because something is causing those front tires to just, it feels like it's, a road hop a little bit, but you get nothing in the back. So I've been messing with this for over a year. Everything's brand new in the front. Everything. Bushings, lower control arms, steering rack bushings, everything associated with it has been changed. So it has been frustrating, the last year and a half just messing with that.
Does yours have that CV needle bearing?
CV needle bearing.
On the Tacoma, on the driver's side, there's a
no. Like
needle
what
bearing?
East Coast gear supply sells.
Yeah.
That's for more of a howling, grinding issue. Sometimes you could get a hop out of it, but I've already replaced that. Yeah.
Okay, I was wondering.
All this dumbest things you could think of that might be in, and you're like, oh yes, this is going to finally fix it, and you bust it apart and you throw it all back together, and you're like, well, that was a waste of time.
Yeah.
I had that all taken apart too, Tyson. Good seeing you, bud.
Yeah, Tyson just asked, have you had your steering shaft checked? I had a vibration and I ended up having to drop my my drive shaft a little bit.
Diff drop kind of? Oh. Really?
Yeah, I had a vibration because I have a 2-piece and it was kind of doing like this. So I had to right there where it mounts the and I just lost the word. But anyways, the carrier bearing. Yeah. I dropped the carrier bearing to decrease the angle a little bit.
So is there a kit for that, or did you just kind of make something?
There is, but you're pretty I mean, after I got the kit, it's just shims like it is for your sway bar relocation. Like
how big of a lift are you running now?
3. I have heavy duty springs in the rear. I'm probably 3-inch front and 3-inch rear, actually.
Loaded and everything, you're still about 3 inches.
Oh yeah, it's like 4.5 unloaded.
Right.
It's way over.
When I take all my crap out of the back hatch of mine, I'm serious. It probably triples almost the actual gap there.
Yeah, and I actually even just put those like big, huge bump stops on the rear too to help it out a little bit. So that was.
Have you noticed that? Have you made contact with those enough to notice?
I broke a shock. Yeah.
Oh, sheesh.
I mean, that's how I broke my shock. Was hitting.
Well, too much though. But after you put the new ones on?
No. No. And yes, Boot Doc Haverlock said I got Iron Man springs. Yes, I have Iron Man constant loads.
Sweet.
And they are beef. Huge. They're beefy. They're super beefy.
I like watching you guys with the 3rd gen tacos because eventually I'd like to get one, but I want to see what's working for you guys so then I can approach it with a better, angle, because a lot of people back when they first came out, they just go buy all this crap. And then obviously there's their little issues with the transmission gear hunting. Now you got to get the tuners, the front, body bracket relocation kit or something like that. All those little quirky things. I'm taking notes. So, and now with your drive shaft with the dampener or whatever.
Yeah. Put spacers on it. And Tyson said he's seen people use washers to space.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I mean, yeah, it'll work fine. But yeah, you got to do the cab mount chop. I got pinch welds beat in.
Yeah.
I don't have sway bars at all.
How do you like that? Have you ever noticed it?
Oh, it's a cheat code.
But really, so you've driven other IFS vehicles?
Yeah.
Like, okay, without the sway bars on those as well, or you have anything kind of compare it to other than a solid axle? Maybe
I've got videos. Tyson even has videos of my truck. Picking up, doing the taco wave.
Yeah.
And with the sway bar removed, it's not picking anything
you're
up.
You're just full drooped.
It's just doing the thing. It's like a dinosaur. Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah.
That's
it's
cool,
like it's pretty awesome. It is.
So
No tires, slips
What's
now.
that company that just released quick releases for the
Apex.
Apex?
Yeah, you don't need it. It's it's expensive, and you got to do some welding. I saw that
I
Tyler put
would.
it on his.
I'm totally like. I'm totally afraid of not running sway bars in links, just
Yeah.
because mine's so road crazy anyway. I would hate to see how it would react if I actually gave it more movement. You know.
Well, I did upgrade to heavier springs in the front, but I also got more digressively valved shocks. So that controls a lot of the sway,
Mm.
meaning that like the abrupt stuff is stiffer, but then as you get into flexing, it's soft. And
What
that
shocks
actually,
are those?
I have rough countries on it right now, but that's this. They're similar to the Bilstein 6112s.
I didn't know they still made the 6112s unless there was another shock or strut I'm thinking of.
They still do make the 6112 for sure, and I think that's
Okay.
what a lot of. So the 5100, as you know, is like the normal like
That's what I've
baseline.
got. That's what I've got.
But guys that typically have full skids and bumpers and stuff, like Mountain Yodas, would recommend the 6112s at that point.
Okay.
So
That's pretty
just
cool.
because of the digressive valving, which is essentially just like stiffer to softer, versus like just a progressive like the 5100 would be.
An ordinary, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Cool.
So the valving it makes I and again, this is like my third suspension on my truck, and I'm just starting to figure like there's stuff that we all have our like niche of something we know a good amount about. Shock
Yeah.
valving and spring rates, and
Yeah.
that's not my
It's the things that I know the most about, I've learned because they were a necessity to address. So it's not like you just got all this knowledge, just like your build. It's most people get confused that it's a blink of an eye, poof, there's your build. Nah, it's multiple stages and trial and errors. But the same way with education, it's you're not searching for that information until you actually are. So
right.
that's
Yeah,
funny.
well, and you were just talking on your podcast, on the trailer podcast, which I'm so bummed I wasn't on because it was like 3-on-1. It would have been 2-on-2. I promise you. It would because I am.
Well, you were busy that time, so I
Yeah,
did
I
ask.
know. I wanted
I
to be
did
on so
ask.
bad. I
We'll do
know.
a follow up. We'll just be like two anti-trailer guys.
I'm so. I even in my head right now. I'm like, I want to like ambush them on this one. Like, I'm just
Do
so.
it. I think they'd
But like
like it.
you brought up hard shell rooftop tent, and I think me and you both have had soft shell rooftop tents. Or did you do the Gazelle
I
before the
went
hard shell?
straight out the gate with a hard shell clam style. I got a killer buy on it. But again, learning from observation, watching everybody else in the wintertime try to snap their soft shell or their soft cover on there. It's impossible, especially if it's snowed or rained and then froze. Now you got to get that stupid plastic thing on top to fit perfect. And it's just like, I was watching people, I'm just like, screw that. If I ever
I
spent the
just
dough, I am not going to be fighting it.
I just went from a clamshell real similar to yours. Well, I mean, I guess I still have it. It's for sale too. But
Nice.
I got a wedge. I got a 23-0
I
wedge.
saw that. I
And
saw that.
man, that's stupid fast and easy.
Yeah.
That's like
So that's the next style of tent I want. And that would just be solely for like me and my wife. Maybe that's it. For myself doing the clam style by myself, it's just too much work for what it is. But here again, we don't go once or twice a week. Or once or twice a year. So that's the other things you start
yep.
focusing in on. If the first time you're out in a torrential downpour, or it's lightning out or something stupid snowing and it's late, you want to get to bed. You want to get up, get that thing put that together and go to bed.
Yeah. It turned into me just like yeah, it was affecting it started to affect my mood in the mornings. We want to go wheel, but I want to sleep
Right.
in. But then I
Yeah.
can't like you can't do both, you know.
So
Like
this year at Rendezvous, me and my wife have already talked about it because she gets stir crazy. I do too, but she gets stir crazy even sooner than I do. So last year we had our the whole thing just set up, we're hanging out really late around the fires and all that fun stuff. Everybody's checking out everybody's rigs. So everything was deployed. And then it's like, okay, let's go wheeling. 2 hours later, after picking up all our crap and making sure that, we're going to be okay when we get back, because when we go to Rito, we take a little extra stuff that we don't normally camp with, just because we're base camping more or less. So, this year we've talked about maybe bringing an extra tent, like a 2-person ground tent, so we could throw all our crap in there when we go wheeling, because that's going to be our priority this next rendezvous. We're going to do more sightseeing and wheeling.
Yeah, and this last year we had 2 folks with ground tents, 3 folks with ground tents, and that's exactly what we did when me and Tyson packed up our rooftop tents. We just chucked a bunch of stuff
Nice.
in
Yeah.
their ground tents.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I'm gonna go to Big Iron again this year because there was some
Me
people.
too, bro.
I know, I heard. So there was some people that were like, I put it on here and I was like, I'll go if any of you guys want to meet me, get to chit chat with me. Like, there's no wheeling, there's no nothing. It's
Right.
solely social. Like, and
Yeah.
so a few people were like, yeah, come. Oh, I'd love if you did that. Blah blah. And I was like, all right, that's base camping
Nice,
to the
bro.
max.
That is, but
I mean,
I think it's fun too, because what did you ever go to a Big Iron ever? You
this
went
will
to
be
the
my
first,
third or fourth.
but you like them, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, because you and
Oh,
I were talking about this, and the only reason why I ever complained about it is because of the heat back in 2021,
that's
because it was in June. So that's not even
everybody.
fair.
Everybody talks
Everyone is
about that.
out from that.
Me and Tyson had the time of our lives that year because it was just a bigger excuse for us to, have a few cold beverages, and we had
Sure.
a few cold
Gosh,
beverages. He's
that
listening
was
right now.
so hot.
That was
Ugh.
probably my best. That's the most fun I've had camping probably ever. Was that year?
So we're going to, well, I'm going, and I opened it up to my wife because she went with me back in 21 and she absolutely hated it because it was so stinking hot. But
Yeah,
now it's the third weekend of September or something like that.
it's right before Rito.
It's like literally a couple weeks or a week right before it. And it's a week after Overland of America, I think. That would be October. Is it in October this year? I thought it was September.
No, it's September 28th.
That's what I thought. Maybe it's before
Mhm.
it's before Overland of America. Okay. I think.
Yeah, I'm not going to Overland of America. I also just realized I missed one just a week or two ago.
The one in Kentucky.
Yeah, that looked like that
Was it
looked.
Overland Summit or something around
Yeah,
there?
yeah.
That they, you know what? I kind of missed it too. It seemed like all of a sudden you started seeing promotional stuff for it, but by then it was like, well, that's in 2 weeks. I can't
By the time I saw
swing
something
that.
about it, it was like the Wednesday before. I was like, "Geez, I wish I
Yeah.
would have," because they did some really cool recovery stuff where they like flipped a rig on its
Yes.
side and like
Oh yeah. Very
I
in
was like,
person stuff.
that is cool. Like I
Yeah, not
like
a lot of
that.
expos do that. Not a
No,
lot of places would do that.
no, I was like, this is awesome. I would love to go to that. And naturally, I'm friends with brand people and marketing people with like Go Treads and Action Tracks, and it turned into me being like, man, I really missed the boat because I'm seeing all their content after the fact.
Yes.
And I was like, well, damn.
That's
Well,
called post FOMO.
yeah. I was like, well, and then I, clicked and I forgot about it. So it's moving on.
Dude, there's so many new events popping up. If you look kind of all over the country, and not necessarily in the Midwest, but like even Oregon, and I know Arizona, they've got like these little ones, which is cool,
Mhm.
because if you think about it, we're all these circles wherever we're at in the country, and then the circles are bigger and bigger. And I guarantee you within our um, bigger circles, I say that Tulsa, Oklahoma, Kansas, Missouri, Arkansas, that bubble, although could be a different size bubble somewhere else. Anyway, I'm sure we all know people from
Yeah.
probably all over through other people, which is
Yeah.
really cool. That's where I was
And,
getting. I said all that to say it's pretty cool how we're all
and
connected.
Expo East, I believe, is in Tennessee.
Um, I
I
think so.
think.
Southeast Tennessee, somewhere like that. Well, Brian would know. Boondocked, when is the Expo East and where? I think it's on that side.
He just said that Morrison's Outdoor Adventure did the recover class. They do classes all year. So
Very
he,
cool.
he said Virginia. He just
Wow,
said
that's a
Virginia.
haul.
Yeah, not doing that. I thought it was Tennessee. I was like, I'd do
Yeah,
Tennessee.
I do Tennessee, Kentucky, any of those.
Yeah, you're talking Kentucky. You're going to end up with some DMs by Tyson after this. He's all about Kentucky. I want to go to
Well,
the Upper Peninsula of
friggin'
Michigan.
let's go.
Yeah, that's
Let's
where I
go,
want to
man.
go. I
I
want to
wanna
do
go
that.
there too. We were supposed to go there last year, for our family vacation. I'm not sure what happened. Oh, I didn't trust my rig. I was like, "I'm not driving because we did the Colorado trip the year before, and that's when I experienced a lot of, uh, old vehicle issues, so I didn't wanna do that back-to-back years.
Colorado is never, I don't, all my friends, I went to Colorado and we did the thing last year
Yeah.
and I went alone. So they're all
Yeah.
like, let's go back. And I'm like, my nerves don't have it. Colorado's
Mm.
not for me.
So,
Colorado's
like, the
not for
shelf
me.
road stuff or the
Yeah.
traffic?
No, I didn't. I was nowhere. I mean, traffic was not an issue.
So you
I
were,
was
like,
pretty much
South
in the,
Central Colorado or,
I did
like, south of the
3,000 miles in
Walls?
like 10 days.
You did what?
3,000 miles
Oh,
in 10
I thought
days.
you said 10,000. I said, "You're on the wrong podcast. You need to go to Guinness World Record."
No, 3,000. So I was literally all over Colorado
Wow,
from,
that's insane, bro.
yeah. So I did everything from whatever Springs to Telluride to Durango, like all west, like east to
Wow,
west Colorado, Ouray, Silverton, Crested Butte.
all the things.
Yeah, I just went all over and really I did it way too fast, one, and
Mm,
totally underestimated the scare factor too. But I
yeah.
mean,
I don't
when
like that stuff either, but there's certain things I'll do, but for the majority of that stuff, like the $1,000,000 Highway, I doubt I could probably drive if I was cliffside, you know what I'm saying? If I was hugging the cliff, I could probably do it, but not the ravine side, not
well,
the
and
drop off side.
that was half my problem is like everybody that's listens to this has been to Colorado. There's only one road in, one road out. So like if you go on the good side,
Mm,
inevitably
you're
you're
coming
coming
back.
back on the bad side.
That's the
So
thing, like,
yeah,
I might be going to Colorado this year, but I'm like, I'm not doing all the famous, sketchy stuff. I'm not gonna go out there and put myself through that. So we're gonna go do some maybe mild stuff, just more scenic, enjoyable things that we don't get
yeah.
here. You can still climb some altitude there and not have to do those kind of roads, but
I was, yeah, it totally, I'm like fried from it still. And I don't
sheesh.
know
I
why.
don't Well, were you always like that? Or just
No,
as yeah,
no, it like hit me. I was like, oh, okay. I was like, all
that's
right, like panic attack.
man, dude.
I was like, okay, well, there's that.
That's
But I mean, yeah, not an issue in the Ozarks. I used to live in Lake Tahoe, like
mm-hmm.
literally lived in the mountains. I don't know what the deal was.
Interesting.
I don't know that I've been above the tree line. I think that's what got me. I
Mm,
think as soon as I think seeing all the trees, I was good. And then when we got up above 10,000, for a while,
yeah.
I think pretty much as soon as I like conceptualized that, like I was looking down on the clouds and there was no trees, I think that like
You're tall when you're high up when you're looking down on the clouds.
I was like freaked out. It freaked me out. I was like, I'm not even looking at the sky. I'm looking at this, like I'm at the sun. Like I was like, I don't even know what's going on. It freaked me out. I don't know if it just was like mental or it just freaked me out.
100% mental, but I mean, I get you, man. I used to be able to climb ladders, do all sorts of fun stuff, climb on roofs. I can't do that anymore. I'm just a big pansy.
I can still do all that. Like that
I
doesn't bother
can't.
me.
Nah, that stuff bothers
None
me.
of that
You've
bothers
watched
me.
too much YouTube's what you've watched. You've watched too many people on Black Bear Pass that have no clue what they're doing, and they roll down on those
That's it.
stairs.
And I think that's exactly it. And I think, yeah, I have this conversation all the time too. And this is a fun conversation that you'd probably like to get into. But like, I didn't think the wheeling in Colorado was hard. Even as scared as I was of the heights,
Yeah.
I didn't think the off roading was difficult. I think that the most difficult off roading, and I've done Arizona, New Mexico, Southern and Northern California, Colorado now. I've done Wyoming. I've done Oregon, Nevada, And I still think the worst at Ozark National Forest, hardest wheeling.
Really?
So, oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
okay. Well, see, I've never been out there. I've never done the other things. I've done Colorado here and there, like, but not like their sketchy stuff. But I get
I,
you. You know, it's
the
big
sketchy in
boulders or
yeah, but the sketchy in Colorado is like off camber and you're worried about sliding yet again.
yes,
But like
yeah,
the off camber in Colorado that scares you, you could do
ain't
in two-wheel
nothing
drive in the Ozarks.
right. It's
It's
mental.
just
It's a lot of that
it's
mental stuff.
correct. Yeah. It's not vehicle difficult. Like you're
Right.
not like, oh, I need a winch. But again, I've never been to Moab. So I mean, I'll caveat. I never did the Rubicon Trail. Caveat.
Yeah.
But I've done a lot.
Yeah.
And the Ozarks is brutal. Narrow, unpredictable, wet, hard, muddy, all of it.
I'm
It's hard.
taking a break from the hard wheeling at least for a minute. You know, I told my
Yeah.
wife, I said, you know what? I've kind of enjoyed just cruising nice gravel roads, finding scenic places to look, get out, look around, and then go to camp at a decent hour, like 6 o'clock, and then set up, kind of enjoy it a little bit, hang out real late, and then kind of wake up and roll out again. That's actually pretty nice.
It's very enjoyable. I think we all have went through and you work on your own rig. And so I don't know, and I work on my own rig. So anybody that doesn't could maybe, but like you don't look at it and like my life continues on when you break your rig. You're like, my life just stopped and I now have to fix this thing.
Right.
Like, and that takes away from whatever else you might have going on in your life, you know? And I hate that. I just get sick of working on it.
I hate, yeah, the repeat breakdowns. Like if like, so for instance, back in February we did a big trip. It was a 5 day in the Ozarks. Well, all 4 days were pretty easy going. You know, we put it in four low a few times, that was it. But on day 5, that's when I started breaking things, and it was not fun, not enjoyable.
Well, yeah. And you guys had like Caleb's wheel cylinder, his brake
All
cylinder went out and like just,
all sorts of weird stuff.
yeah, you guys just had some breakdowns. Like, and that'll happen. But man, that just gets, you're like, damn,
Yeah.
this isn't fun
Yeah.
anymore. Yeah.
No, and that's still where I'm at, like with the balancing either the tire or maybe the CV axle. And I think it's just down to those two. Then I don't know. I got another set of wheels I could throw on there just to kind of, if I
Gauge it.
had to, yeah. I mean, I would have the tires swapped to that just to rule it out, you know, if I had to.
Yeah, that's
So
weird. It's weird too to me that you just went to the ATs from the MTs and you would have thought, you'd think that would have been a
a
little
lot
easier on
smoother.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Um, it drives a lot better. I will say that ever since I swapped out the axles and I had to do a bunch of other stuff while I was in there, it does drive like tighter to me. But I'm the only one that could feel that steering wheel. But to me, it's, you know, after you've worked on cars forever, you kind of know what it's doing. But this one's got me stumped. And that's what's frustrating about it, you know. And I've changed the struts out, I've changed and the spring. I've changed everything that you could think of on the front end. It's brand new or
Is
within the
there a
last year.
is there a U joint on that steering arm down
Well,
into
you
the
know,
steering
where
rack?
I'm trying to think. Well, it's got that safety thing, the collapsible safety thing. I want to say there's a little U joint down there, but it to me, it's not a steering wheel issue. You know, you could feel the difference, and I would
Mhm.
assume it'd be a little sloppier. It's tight. Like when I'm turning in a parking lot, I got tight steering. Like that's good.
Hmm.
So it's like on the interstate, like anything over like 50 miles an hour, it's just like, but it doesn't make a noise. You're feeling it, and it's
Yeah, just
annoying.
feeling it.
Yeah, like it's
Huh.
out of balance. I mean,
Yeah, that's
as
it. It feels almost like you got an oblong tire.
yeah, because if it was a drive shaft, right, you could let off. So if you're driving, you could let off the
Period.
gas, and if that vibration goes away, well, then that's your drive shaft. But if it you don't have anything between the two, then it's fine. So
Yeah.
it's like that's where I'm leaning.
Huh. That's a weird. Yeah, I was chasing down a vibration and I haven't figured it out either. I thought it was a front body mount. I've checked all my body mounts. It's not my tires. I mean, it's done it all of the sets of tires, different
Yeah.
lifts, ball joints, tie rod ends, inner and outer.
Now
I
I
mean,
know a lower ball joint could cause that same vibration
it
also,
could.
but mine, there's got to be less than 5,000 miles on them,
That's why
and they're
you just
OEM.
said you put new lower control arms on it.
Everything's, yeah.
Yeah.
Just did upper ball joints, and they're
Wheel
JBAs.
bearing?
Both brand new wheel bearings.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
No. Well,
None.
here's the other thing is like if freaking so there's a guy and I probably could do it. It'd just be a pain in the butt to make them do a lockout conversion, right? So that away because your CV axles are still spinning even if you're a two-wheel drive because it's connected to that spline, blah blah blah.
Right.
If it was a free floating, like if it was a locker or like a lockout hub, that should eliminate that and it would just pivot around that wheel would pivot around that CV axle in theory, but those
Right.
things are like $400 or $500. And I just don't want to gamble $400 or $500 on another
Annoyance. Yeah.
another if or another would that even fix it? So I don't know.
Yeah, and I mean, it's just like, and anytime you modify these vehicles as much as yours or mine is modified, like sometimes what Tyson says it all the time. He's like, you solve one problem and you just create a different one. Like, I feel like that's the truest
True.
statement.
That's true. I believe it more so on higher mileage vehicles or older vehicles because that new component is now 10 times stronger than it was before. So now you're wearing out the other stuff it's attached to. Well, then you're going to replace those two. Well, now you're even stronger on this end. And then who else knows? But also you could destroy that new part just because you left the old crap on there too.
For sure. And my truck's not old or high mileage
She's
at all.
driven.
It's driven. Yeah, it's got some hard miles
That's
on it.
okay. So here's another funny thing. Being cars, you're into cars and all that fun stuff. So
Yeah.
like, when people used to say, "Oh, I got a barn find," or "I found this out in a farmer's field" or something, it's low mileage. Those are low miles, but those are farm miles. Those are
those are hard miles.
Yeah, those are hard miles.
Right.
So
that is, I mean, that is accurate. My truck probably has been in 4-wheel drive more than a lot of hundreds of thousands of miles of Toyotas, but I hope it makes it that long. Hopefully it lasts that long. I hope.
Shoot, yeah.
We'll see.
Doesn't look like the new ones might. I'm not saying anything.
I will. They're garbage. I'm so happy I didn't even think twice about that.
Your generation, in my opinion, 3rd gen Tacoma, 5th gen 4Runner is the last decent for Toyota to market.
100%.
Now, obviously, the Land Cruisers, they've been cranking them out forever, and they went to IFS way before this last body style. So why all of a sudden are they calling it like a Prado, 4Runner, and it's like, well,
that's the frame. So that's the Prado's the smaller version. So that's the GX460.
It's like the 4Runner of
Well,
Land Cruisers.
Yes, but the full size Land Cruiser is the V8. So, and it's more in line with the Tundra frame.
So does anyone?
Bigger,
I don't
physically larger.
Yeah, so it's probably a full. Well, yeah, I could see that.
It's closer to a half ton.
What size engine and was it solid axle? Was like the 2005-ish Land Cruisers? If anyone
100
out
series, yeah.
No, it's the full size Land Cruiser. It's not the earlier 2000s. It's like 2007, maybe.
That's the 200 series.
Okay, that's what that is.
It had the 4.8 and then a 5.7.
Maybe I'm going to look that up
later.
But
it's IFS. It's IFS. The 200
Correct.
is IFS.
But everyone was like complaining about these not being solid axle anymore. It's like, well, folks, they haven't been in a while.
Yeah, they haven't been since 2007.
Okay, so that's
the first year for the 200 series.
Because I think those are fantastic vehicles if you could find one for less than $30,000-$40,000.
Well, that's what I would have if I could have afforded one with a comparable, mileage and stuff.
Yeah.
I would have even went way back in years. I just couldn't find one with less than 180,000 miles.
Yeah.
For under 30 grand. So, but I would have one of those for sure is what I would drive. I'd
I've
love
only
to have a
seen
V8.
Oh yeah, I've only seen maybe a handful, like in the wild, if you will, driving
Aaron
through different towns.
Aaron Paris has one. He has a white
Oh,
one.
very cool. Yeah.
So he has one. It's got 1,000,000 miles on it too, I think. The switchback outdoor safety
Very,
guy.
very tasteful rigs, in my opinion. I think they look good and they outperform too.
I think they're great. And I mean, I think the 5th gen Forerunner, even Overland Journal just recently did, best North American overland vehicle, and it was the 5th gen Forerunner by like a
A lot.
landslide. I mean, there's people rolling around, full time in 7,000 pound 5th gens.
Oh yeah.
I mean, and they just
They are,
go.
and even bone stock, they're very impressive, very capable
Yeah,
vehicles.
absolutely.
Minus the Predator bars. That was so stupid of them to put those on.
I mean, reasonably, Tyson's is a puck lift and 285s.
Yeah,
That's it.
I've
That's
wheeled
it.
with him and it goes places,
Yeah, it did fine. Like it'll go
Yeah.
anywhere. And it's literally, it doesn't have wheel spacers. It doesn't
Pretty
have
much a bone stock
off
Forerunner.
road. Yeah, TRD
Yeah.
off road.
Yeah,
With
so
some
those
bump.
have naturally what, a 2-inch lift on it already or something like that.
I don't know. I know
The
his
the,
is
the
3.
suspension's a little bigger. Yeah, okay, so that
Yes,
might be a 3 then. Well, if you had a 2, well, who knows? Tyson,
I
talk
know
here
it.
to us, bud.
Yeah, he's got puck lift on it now. It's lifted, but it's stock springs, shocks, control arms,
Sweet.
and I mean, it goes everywhere. It's just got 33s on it and
Mm.
bumper cuts. It
Not
goes
not Viper
everywhere.
cuts.
It is Viper cut, but that makes me
It's like
feel like I'm, like
it's the dodgeball. Thank
that's
you.
what I
Thank
feel like.
you.
Yes. Yeah, that's exactly what I feel like with it. How's
That's
that work
funny.
on third gens though? Do you have to cut anything, or is it just all fit?
So that's why I'm running a -12 offset. So I think stock TRD off-road wheels are a -4 offset. So with that, with no spacer, my left to right turn top, like frame horns, almost are touching, right? So then after, I didn't like the idea of doing spacers, although I think there are safe ways to run spacers. At the time, it wasn't even a thought. So I just going for like the biggest offset wheel I could do, which was a -12, which I still currently run, and I've had that for almost 3 years now. So that's another thing that's kind of in the back of my brain. Like, is that an issue? So anyway, no rubbing, no issues other than if you're like totally squatted somewhere or flexed out. Obviously, anybody will probably rub. But I've not cut anything on that inner wheel well, the inner fender well. But I have taken a massive hammer to it and beat it in probably a
Oh,
good
okay.
4 to 5 inches. You don't have to, but that's also back when I was running the mud tires also. So those would grab everything underneath the fender, those
Yes.
KM3s or whatever they were, but they were Falcon
MT
MT3s.
yeah, MT somethings. But yeah, I've done a considerable amount of cutting and chopping and beating and on my front fender wells.
Mm.
My rear is non-issue at all ever, but my
Did
front,
you still have to do like the panhard correction bar and all that stuff in the
there's
back,
no pan hard on my Tacoma. It doesn't have a pan hard.
or
It's
did they
just
factory, or did you
it's
just take it out?
it's a leaf spring rear. It's not coil spring rear.
Oh, it's not linked.
Mm-mm.
Oh, I
Mm.
guess all trucks are like that.
Well, they're
Toyota
not
trucks.
not the new Toyotas, not the new Tacoma.
Don't get started on that.
Yeah,
But
the RAV4 Plus. I don't like
dude,
them at
those
all.
like, I mean, consider us both much Toyota fan, but like, no clue what it's going to look like in the next years. For Toyota
Oh,
stateside, it's not at their call.
yeah.
It's the United States EPA, all that regulation,
Yep.
safety bull crap that they have to comply to,
That's exactly
and
right.
this for people like us who really love Toyota, this is a shot in the foot, man. So we'll see how it turns out.
And it's all the brands. I mean, the last generations of naturally aspirated four-wheel drives
Yeah.
is across the board is done.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't
I
get
think
a
that's why there's a
F-150.
surge in people restoring these older vehicles,
I
because
would assume.
they're very capable. The parts are readily available. for the most part, you're not going to get Toyota OEM stuff anymore. I think like for CV axles, they quit making those years ago, but a lot of even Toyota's doing reman stuff on a lot of that older stuff. So they'll keep it in stock, I believe, and like little pop-up shops that'll keep that alive. I've got 3 or 4 third gen sitting in my back lot that I know down the road will be very handy to have. So that's why I don't want to get rid of them just yet, because I know I could rebuild one of them and go 300, 500,000 miles in one if I had to. So,
Yeah, that's a good thing that you're doing that I've been looking at eBay pretty substantially for. I want to find a rear impact total third gen
mm,
so I could have a donor trans.
ah,
So I could have a donor trans and engine. So that way I can have
yes,
one out to
yes,
like I could take either put that one in, rebuild this one,
yes.
vice versa. That's
Have
worth everything.
Purple Wave, go to purplewave.com. You can watch those all the time. Go to your marketplace on Facebook. You'll probably,
I
I
got
don't know if you'll see.
I got Copart. I look at Copart all the time.
Yeah, do you got one near you
Mhm.
or close to you? Very
Yep,
good. Yeah, you can go scout
absolutely.
it out.
Yeah, that's what I've been doing because they're not at least not yet. I feel like if this new Tundra or excuse me, new Tacoma falls on its face, that stuff's going to be lucrative here real shortly, and I want to try and buy before that becomes the case.
The new
Buy it
Tundras have
while I'm
already fell on their faces.
they're garbage, man. There's it's so, and I don't want to say garbage, but like even
No,
you, it's bad. It's bad.
it's bad
You
when you're spending $80,000 on a freaking brand new truck, and then less than X amount of miles, you're getting all these uh please help me out here. Uh
recalls
recalls, and you're like, well, now what? I just spent
it's
all
not
this
like you're going to
money
get it.
and
Yeah, and you're not gonna get a loaner. Like, what? How you
no,
supposed to
they're
get
not
to
gonna.
work?
No, exactly. They don't care.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like, it's yeah, and I mean, and right now the big thing is with all of them, they're talking. I mean, they're talking about turbo issues with, they've got more gears in the transmissions, but they're pushing so much boost at the lower RPMs, pushing
Mhm.
bigger tires and stuff. So you don't need to re-gear it, but now maybe you need to get a different turbo or a different
Right.
wastegate
But
or
also, yeah, those little turbos, I mean, they ain't nothing. I mean, those are like the size of the ones they put on Scions and stuff. They're not
well,
like what a Cummins turbo would be. Like maybe
correct.
they're very small.
Well, and people don't realize, they talk about RPMs and compression ratios. People should really start paying attention to those tiny little bitty bearings on those fins of those turbos going 30,000 RPMs.
Right.
I mean, at 900 degrees. I mean,
Mhm.
can you imagine what that does to that if that turbo's low mounted and it gets wet at a water crossing after it's been hot?
Oh
I bet that
gosh. Yeah.
just annihilates it.
Yeah.
That's I
I would be curious to see because I know, Tyler with Independence Overland, he ordered himself a trail
he's
hunter
yep, I know it
and
too. Yeah.
he is going to wheel the crap out of it. He says, he's like, I'm gonna wheel this thing. He's like, I'm gonna take
Yeah.
it places, do stuff with it like it's intended to, and I will give my honest review. So
Yeah.
if
And
anyone's to do it,
I think you can tell, and hopefully you've had him on, and I've mentioned him on my podcast before, and maybe he will listen to this. But I wonder if he took it into consideration that he might not like it, as why he's keeping his FJ.
I'm sure just because he's got a crap ton of investments in his FJ, it wouldn't make sense to let it
Wouldn't.
go. And it's an heirloom pretty much. It's been he bought it brand new as well. I think it's an '07, something like that. So he's had it a minute. Um,
Well, and I don't remember if it was me or you talking about it, but like sometimes we're less recognizable than our cars are.
oh, for sure.
Like sometimes people know my truck as Outskirts Overland, not me, like,
Right. Yeah. Well,
and
and,
by
and
like,
that's the truth with anything. Like even what like going to expos or rendezvous and stuff like that. Like people will say, "Oh, look, it's so and so," just by pointing at the rig, and
mhm,
then you go over there and you have no idea what the guy looks like.
yeah. Yeah, that could I mean, yeah, you could see I could see that being the case too. So like at some point too, it's like, is it even appropriate? Is it an appropriate marketing move to get rid of like your identity rig either?
Okay. I will give you a couple of examples. I'm brain farting, man. It's been hot here. But anyway, so back whenever Grant from Arkansas Off Road had his Jeep TJ, that was his channel's identity. That's what grew his channel, in my opinion.
Yeah, the black
To
one, right?
it was dark forest green or something like
Oh,
that,
that's right.
tan
Yep.
hard top, but he had it decked out, loaded out, and decent good content for that time whenever that came out. Whenever he got his Tacoma, I'm like, this guy just shot himself in the foot. His channel is gonna go downhill, blah blah blah. That's probably one of the only success stories I've seen from anyone changing their identity. Not only going from Jeep to a Toyota, because there's a lot more Jeep fans out there than Toyota fans, just because of the whole bathtub toy thing that they got going on for them. But another example would be Matt McClellan. Whenever he had his black, what was that? A TJ or a Z? No, what was that? An X JK. That's what it was. It was a black JK. And then whenever he went to the Gladiator, I was thinking the same thing. Oh, this guy just shot himself in the foot. But look at him now. So
Yeah,
both.
well, Kara got a 4-door though too, so it's not like they abandoned. Like they've got some Jeep
Exactly. But
diversity.
they got a lot of Jeep diversity going on.
Yeah,
They got two Gladiators and their 4-door,
and then some trailers
but hey, more power to you if you can do it. More power to
why wouldn't you?
who
Yeah, I don't
wouldn't?
know.
You
I
would be a
mean,
moron if you wouldn't.
well, absolutely. Yeah, opportunities come your way. But yeah, I don't. Yeah, and I think that too. But at least Matt stayed with essentially a Jeep, off-road Jeep.
Right.
Like I think, yeah, it's hard too. Like my content and your content, like we're pretty Toyota. Like that's what I know.
Yeah.
That's just if I got a Jeep at this point, I'd sound like a complete,
Skyjacker is the only thing I know what a Jeep is.
Yeah, dude, I don't know anything about. Like I know enough about it to like
spider armor, spider stuff,
right.
whatever.
I mean, I watch enough Story Till Now to know a little. But that's I don't know. Like I'd be like a infant in that world. I don't know nothing about that.
I wouldn't know nothing.
Yeah, I'd be lost in the sauce. So, yeah, I don't even. I mean, even when I've been with my buddies, again, a lot of my buddies here in Missouri have Jeeps. They wheel completely different.
Yeah,
like the way that what wheel follows the other is backwards from ours.
Yeah.
So they're always trying to clear the back. And if my front can do it, my back will do it. Like my back follows.
It is interesting that lines can change with a vehicle. I would never have expected that. Especially going from what I've had first gens, second gens, and now I've been on, this is my second or third gen. And it's like the line approach, all that stuff is way different than like anyone I ever follow or anyone following me. I always make sure to tell that to people because I've got a pretty short wheelbase. I'm not super wide. So I've got to take very selective paths. And then like people behind me, good luck, depending on what you are. So
well, that's absolutely, even my Tacoma versus a 4Runner is different. And then our buddy's GX is different. And everything's, that's,
I don't. So whenever it comes down to like spotting people, yes, that helps. That does help a lot. But you also have to know that vehicle's capabilities. Does it have to hit that weird rock at that certain angle first so the rear can flex and work itself out? Or do you try to bury it in the rut or whatever? It's hard to. Good spotters are hard to find.
Not only are good spotters hard to find, people that understand how to follow spotters' instructions.
Yeah, I walk away from people. If you're not going to listen to me or, and I'm not saying that like some big bully, but if you don't want help from somebody and you're just going to driver, and you're going passenger or whatever, it's like, if you don't want help, you're on your own, man. Like,
yeah. And well, me and Tyson actually just talked about this a couple of weeks ago. Like Tyson almost always spots. I rarely spot anybody. I'm usually in the back. So that opportunity is not really presented to me. I'm usually the last vehicle.
I either like to go first or last. Ideally not first because you can't see how deep the mud holes are.
Yeah, I usually go last just because I have the most recovery equipment.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, so that's really what that's about. Just because I'll always be able to deploy it if need be and not have to
Yeah.
turn around or anything.
I guess that makes
Um,
sense too.
yeah, but I don't ever have that opportunity. But I've seen people freak out, like just freak out. And it's like, yeah, we gotta continue on here. Like we gotta keep going.
Mhm.
So like I
Yeah.
even was talking to him. I'm like, sometimes people don't want help, but like sometimes I got people that are like third or fourth in line of 8, and they're like, I don't want to do this. And it's like, get out. I'll drive it. Like we
Wow.
can't turn around. Like there's no
Failure
turning.
is not an option.
We gotta go. I mean,
Yeah, where
and
else are you gonna
based
go?
off
Call
this,
an Uber?
yeah, and based off that Jeep Liberty that just made it, like you're gonna be fine. Like we just gotta go. We gotta keep going.
Yeah.
So like I see that sometimes even where it's like I've had to drive, had to be like, hey, like I'm not trying to be rude, but like, I'm not gonna you're not gonna keep getting stuck to where we're all stuck.
Yeah.
Just let somebody else, let's get through this. And
Sheesh.
we'll have an after action later about it. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
but I mean, you go with guys. Me and Tyson have never went, I don't think, with the same group of guys twice.
It's
Like,
hard once you find a good group to go with, you can know each other's capabilities. You can tell if they can keep their cool. You could tell, all this stuff. And we've
yeah,
had trail talks before, like we've had good heart to hearts on the trail, but
yeah,
because of our relationship, because we've gone wheeling together, you could have those. And the trips are 100 times more better if you can kind of find those people you mesh with well. I'm not saying go with the same people all the time. Introduce some other people while those folks can't go. But
and yeah, and
random trips with people, that's stressful.
we do it a lot. That's all we do. I feel
Mm,
like I go wheeling with Tyson a lot. I've been wheeling with a couple other people a lot, but I feel like we've went with a bunch of people that we just met and we've never wheeled with again. And
yeah.
it's hard when you just automatically accept like scratches and trail damage and
Mm-hmm.
whatever, and you're with somebody else and that is not their mindset. And you're like, oh, well, that's inevitable at this point. Like,
Yeah.
unfortunately, like it's almost like you feel like a cocky person to be like, hey, like you're probably gonna get scratches, you might break a tail light, like this stuff happens.
Right.
And they'll be like, oh, and then you're like, and there goes your, side
Right.
steps. And those are gone now.
There
You
was
know,
I'll have to find it and I'll send it to you, but there was you may have seen it. I think it was on Instagram, but it was like a brand new car and somebody put like saran wrap the whole thing and then
I
they went
just
wheeling in
shared
it.
that the other day.
I was like, that's hilarious.
Uh, Boondock Haverlock just said trail damage. What's that? When the other day I just saw him like pulling his rear quarter
Right.
panel out on his truck.
Hey, you need any PDR service? Go to North Carolina. You got Brian there.
Oh man, I've ripped my rear bumper off my Tacoma like 4 different times, man. Like it's that's a anyways, yeah, they're just bad for that, but yeah, anyways, so yeah. Well, we're about an hour, and I know you say that too, like we're about
we're
at an
like
hour.
we're there. It's like you got to take a piss, but it's like we're right there, man.
Yeah, we're close. So anyways, everybody that's listening, Benji, where can everybody reach you at? Where are you at? What's going on in the
I
future for
am
you and Newfound?
at Newfound Overland on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube.
And I would like to go ahead and plug Benji. Benji, let's all of us a round of applause. Just had his first, pseudo viral video about his 1980 truck. So go on over to his
Yeah,
YouTube
bro.
channel and give it a like and a subscribe. Leave a comment, even if it's just to say, hey, I listened to you on the podcast. It helps the algorithm out. Let's keep his momentum going.
Appreciate it.
So, yeah, man, absolutely. And I'll look forward to having you back on or me on yours or whatever,
Yeah, you'll
collaborating like
come
this.
on mine, but one of these days we'll do an in person. Maybe we should
Yeah,
plan on that. That'd be
Yeah,
fun.
we're not too far away from each other, so
A couple hours, maybe 2 hours, 3 hours, maybe.
yeah, it's fine. I mean, we'll figure it out though. Yeah, you got a
We're
way
in the
fancy
same
setup.
state, man. We're in
Yeah,
the same state.
I mean, we take a similar highway daily. I mean, we're not that far away.
Right.
So awesome, guys. Well, I appreciate you guys all being here. We got quite a bit of engagement today, so I appreciate you guys all being here, and just kind of me and Benji just catching up and BSing. So I appreciate everybody that cares to listen to that. Really. So thanks for being here, and I'll catch you guys next week. Later.